Midterm 1 review, question 4, debt payment of 1170 due 2 months ago and 1243 due today, respectively, are to be repaid by a payment of 1505 in 1 month and the balance in 4 months. If money is worth 8.4% per annum and the agreed focal date is 4 months from now, what is the size of the final payment? Our first step in solving this question is drawing a timeline. So this is what we have shown here. We've drawn a timeline. And what we have in the timeline is that we have two debts. We have debt of 1170 due 2 months ago. So we have 1170 due 2 months ago. So negative 2 over 12. That is your time because we have 2 months ago. And then we have 1243 due today. So this is your debt due today. So that's at time 0. So 1243 at time 0. So two debts in purple. And then we have two payments. So first payment is 1505. That is 1 month from now. So that's why 1505, 1 month from now. And then we have the balance due in 4 months. So we have the balance due in 4 months. So that is your X. So your balance due in 4 months is your X. And then we have 4 months from now. So your time is 4 over 12. So two debts in purple and then two payments in green. And then the focal date is 4 months from now. So that's why we have the stars here. This is your focal date. Your focal date is 4 months from now. And what we know from the diagram is that everything needs to be converted to the focal date. So all these cash flow here, all these cash flow needs to be converted into the focal date so that we can compare them. All these cash flow are to the left of the focal date. So therefore, what we need to do is, in order to convert them into the focal date, in order for us to convert them into the future value, what we need to do is times them by 1 plus RT. So that's why we have the 1505 times it by 1 plus RT. We have the 1243 times it by 1 plus RT. And then we have the 1170 times it by 1 plus RT to convert them into the focal date. And that's why it is important for us to draw the diagram so we can understand where the cash flows are going to. So once we understand the timeline, then we can move on to the equation here. And what we have in the equation is that we have two debts. So we have two debts. So we have the two debts on one side, and then we have the two payments, the 1505 and X on the other side. So for the two debts, we have 1170 and 1243, and those needs to be converted into the focal date. So those need to be converted into the future value because they are to the left of the focal date. So anything to the left of the focal date, we times it by 1 plus RT. If we have a cash flow to the right of the focal date, then we would divide it by 1 plus RT. And that's the rule. Anything to the left of the focal date, we times it by 1 plus RT. Anything to the right of the focal date, if there's any cash flow to the right of the focal date, then we would divide it by 1 plus RT to convert it into the focal date. So we have the 1170. 1170 is to the left of the focal date. So therefore, we need to times it by 1 plus RT. And the t that we're going to use here is 6 over 12. And the reason the t is 6 over 12 is because your t is always based on the time in between the two dates. So the time in between the two dates is 2 months ago to 4 months from now. So from 2 months ago to 4 months from now, that is 6 months. So that's why we have 6 over 12. That is your t. So t is always based on the time in between. Next, we have the 1243. 1243 is to the left of the focal date. So that's why we times it by 1 plus RT. And our t here is 4 over 12. The reason it's 4 over 12 is because we have 4 months between the two dates. So from today to 4 months from now, the time in between is 4 months. So that's why we have 4 over 12. And those are the value of the two debts at the focal date. And then same idea for the payments. We have two payments. So 1505 is 1 month from now. And that is to the left of the focal date. So therefore, we have to times it by 1 plus RT. So that's why we have 1505 times 1 plus RT. And the t that we're going to use is 3 over 12. And the reason it's 3 over 12 is because we have 4 over 12 minus 1 over 12. So the time in between those two dates, 4 months from now and 1 month from now. So the time in between those two dates is 3 months. So that's why we have 3 over 12. Finally, we have X. X is already at the focal date, so there's no conversion needed. So once the equation is set up, our R, we have R. R is just your 8.4%. So R is just 0.084. So we can substitute the R, 0.084, into the R in these three R there. And once we solve for the algebra, we're going to get X equals to 960.33. And that is example 4.